We get a bit of a legend we
Perfect.
don't get to see too often. It will be a Lee Sin joining the party. I'm seeing a couple great cards.
Wow.
Of course, the Stellarcorn Herder, Starrish Gauge, nice little cheeky one of what is a Show of
A show
Strength?
of
I don't know that
strength.
card.
A show of strength is 2 energy, 1 power reaction that lets you draw one for each mighty unit you have, I believe. So you're going to be drawing 3 cards, maybe at most with that. It's just some good draw power.
Okay.
Very interesting.
I could see in a world where Lee Sin's lacking a little bit on the card power or card draw power. Let's see whose the opponents will be. And how do you think about the feature match table? I think I think they definitely could have
Look
got a
small. You're
slightly
right.
bigger table. Like, come on, come on. But hey, I know we're
Certainly.
giving them a
And
little bit of oh, our very first Irelia deck of the
interesting.
day. Let's take a little peek at how they build it because every Irelia player tends to be slightly different. It looks like they're going for 6 lower to the ground units in the sneaky deck cannon tide turner, and then just
I'm
everything
not
on the
seeing any Draven.
yeah, no Draven Audacious. You're definitely right. It looks
Yeah.
like just a Stellarcorn Herder and then the Protect the Queen game plan. I love Irelia as a champion. I know you said Irelia is taking it all the way, so I know you're a fan of Irelia. So this is going to be a fun matchup. Lee Sin versus Irelia, the power of the Comdex. I just think Irelia is a little bit too good in Spiritforge. I don't see a world, unless this Lee Sin plays out of his mind.
I feel like Lee Sin is like a toned down version of Jax right now. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any experience in this matchup at all, though, to know how it goes. Do you have any idea how this plays out? Have you played it since you're on Irelia a lot of the time?
I haven't played this matchup, but funny enough, this matchup literally came up in our 1K last week, and it was a Lee Sin versus an Irelia. Because I know this because I just uploaded one of the videos this past couple of days, and Lee Sin did okay, but it was a 2-0 in the way of Irelia. She just has too many tools in her box and just has too many too many options. She has the card advantage. The double dreaming tree is going to be very favorable for the flash player, for the chaos player that has a bit more to her, the fighter flights, the rebukes. Fighter flight are your own units, but more so, I think we saw at least one flash. Dimitri, imagine a world where you're holding both battlefields and a flash, a double draw. If you have a Stellarcorn Herder on one of those, that's a triple draw. So I think this double dreaming
Done
tree
that so
can
much with
favor.
Annie.
What happened?
Oh, in Annie set 1, it happened all the time where you'd have
Right.
double Dreaming Tree games, especially in the mirror or against Kaisa, and oh man, those flashes
Yeah,
felt
chef's
so
kiss,
good
right?
every
It
single
feels so
time.
good.
I hope we get to see that today. Yup.
And most likely
Especially with
will
the
come
Stella
into
card now,
play.
you're so right.
And weirdly enough,
Look,
it looks like Aurelia started on the play, but perhaps something of the like of a judge call, because it looks like both players stopped playing. Man, is it maybe the layout they
okay.
have? Why are these players so confused on where to channel from?
I don't know. It's maybe just tournament nerves with being on stream and everything causing this. I could totally see that being the issue here.
Definitely. And you know, this is what makes Lee Sin so good. Normally a Poro, Pouty Poro, Lonely Poro would trade 1-for-1 against a sneaky deckhand, but because you have the 1 buff increase from Lee Sin, you're able to actually conquer here no problem. Of course, there is that one little rune, and one little rune in Aurelia can get a whole lot done. You have the On Guard, you do have the Defiant Dance. Could be a little bit of premature to invest that Defiant Dance, but I think On Guard doesn't feel all that bad because of the Dreaming Tree battlefield currently. So Lee Sin has to thread carefully going forward. Let's see what he decides to do and takes the safe route. I don't blame him, but I almost would have taken the risk. What about you, Dimitri? Where would you go there?
It really depends on his hand. I think because he has the Thwonk, it looked like, being able to grab his own battlefield, and especially with his Sona, he's much better equipped to defend a battlefield than attack into one. So I actually do kind of like this play. I
Okay.
do see it working out.
Yeah, actually, as you said, if we knew the actual hand, the cards in hand, it makes a lot more sense. Because why risk it? You want to go ahead and establish a Sona onto the battlefield as soon as you can, getting your 4 runes back and available on your opponent's turn. Now is your turn to try to do some kind of Dreaming Tree shenanigans. You do have a calm deck of your own, most likely with a discipline, most likely with a punch first, because you do have body as well, and that is 4 body runes. And it looks like the queen has arrived. Irelia Fervent hitting the board. Now I'm slightly nervous for something like a challenge. Sona's up to 5 total might with the buff. Are you throwing it, or are we scared of a defy from Irelia? If you have it.
Always scared of that defy, or even more so, a defiant dance, right? Because that pushes the Aurelia up to what, 7, and the Sona down to 3. And so being able to overcome that seems tough, but it looks like he's going for something expensive instead. The Chosen Champ comes out. Interesting.
Interesting, and that's actually a +2 for every buff unit on that battlefield. So Sona will be defending for 7, that Pouty Poro up to 5, and then the Lee Sin himself, is he a 6 cost or 6 might? Yeah, 6 might. So man, what is the
Yes.
math on that?
The math is
14 plus
pretty high.
5?
Usually you deal with this by going in, trading something for the Lee Sin, and then getting rid of all of those extra bonuses that he would give before killing everything else. But Irelia doesn't have enough units usually to make that very feasible. So he might be able to, would you say 14 might on this battlefield?
No,
No,
even more. I think it's
yeah,
total
like 20.
19. Because it was 6 6. No,
Might
no,
be
no, no, no.
19.
6 6 5.
675, right?
Yeah, 6 7 5. So 13
So
plus 5,
18.
18 total might. Right? I'm pretty sure.
He's got more options to defend with this summit. He's just stacking this battlefield hard. Wow. He is all in on, this is my battlefield, and I'm gonna at some point get to the other battlefield to just get slightly ahead in points.
I mean, right
Interesting.
now he's losing the point tempo. He doesn't have the point tempo, right? The Stellarcorn Hoarder will hold up to 4 points, so he's investing so much on that upper Dreaming Tree. How is he going to maneuver his way down below? I mean, Lucian is a way of getting there, but now if he tries to set up the Aurelia Fervent onto the opposing Dreaming Tree and just holds it for dear life with things like a Discipline, Defiant Dance, and then even rebukes or fight or flight, unless I'm mistaken, no, yeah, Stellarcorn Hoarder did hold up to 4 points, so
Yeah.
he will get to 8 before his opponent does.
I think Lee Sin has a couple of tools. He has that first mate in his hand where he can gank something over. And
Okay.
the other thing is, Irelia has to be holding up multiple runes every turn to be defending. Whereas the Lee Sin player has this Sona at the battlefield that means he can tap out and then untap 4 every turn. So he can build up his base and build up his might even faster than the Irelia player. And you can see the difference on board already.
Yeah, you definitely can. It's usually Aurelia having no problem going in and out of these battlefields, but setting up a fortress, a monstrous fortress at that on that upper Dreaming Tree, a Sunlit Guardian, and with that Lee Sin enable or getting 2 might increases on every single unit on that battlefield. That is going to be a big problem to crack for this Aurelia player. But let's see, because you do need to take a sneaky deckhand. Actually, funny enough, you do have effectively enough might with the Lucian alone, but whenever you see an Irelia player with 5 runes at the ready, I am nervous. I am not feeling too confident about this Conqueror, but you have to do it. There's no other way of winning this match except by doing this one play right here. Discipline does get played
Okay.
out, so that's a double draw to start things off, and 2 can play at that game, it seems like.
Yep. Yep, I think it's just the game plan of I'm gonna go in, test a little the waters, and discipline on Dreaming Tree means if this Lucian dies, I'm fine because I get my draw 2 off. How much further are we gonna test them though, now that we're not getting Dreaming Tree draws anymore and we're getting Defiant Danced?
Yeah, Defiant Dance does pose a bit of an issue for this Lucian player. Or not the Lucian player, we just had a Lucian player, but for the Lucian champ, a punch first will be enough to get him over the hump, though. Does he have something like that, or is he going to be letting this Lucian go? The discipline looks like it's resolving now. So they were resolving last in, first out. So the Lucian for discipline goes first. Then the Irelia player draws her two. And let's see if G1L has any additional might increases. We at the minimum see something like a discipline, but is that just going to be trading one for one there?
Yeah, he's still one too small with this discipline, so he needs to find something else to be able to get through. And
Oh,
he
there it
does.
is.
Wow. That's an expensive equip. But very strong. Basically a spinning axe, and we all know how strong that is for Draven.
And you know, Aurelia has a final trick up her sleeve. It looks like there's the rebuke slash fight or flight getting invested. Do you have a defiant hand? Actually, you could have a defiant hand. I was just gonna say he doesn't have any calm runes, but he does have a couple calm runes, and that will
He
be a not
does.
so fast, meaning the Lucian will be able to conquer up to 5 points, and that is a bit of a disastrous situation for the Aurelia player. She just invested, what was that, a discipline, a fight or flight, and a defiant dance. That is 3 cards taken out of the equation for the Irelia player going forward. I mean, granted, the same can be said for Lee Sin, but one of these players is in firm control of these battlefields, and one of them is just sitting pretty in the base so far. So I like Lee Sin's position from here.
Keep in mind, though they did invest 3 cards, they drew 3 cards each between Dreaming Tree and Disciplines. So they're not really down in card economy at all. They're just maybe lower on combat tricks in hand relative to other tools. And I
Mm-hmm.
do think the Aurelia is going to need every combat trick possible going forward to clear this 30 might battlefield.
Yeah, honestly, like chat saying, this Lee Sin is chefing something up. He is cooking. He is undefeated in this
Oh,
Bologna
yeah.
regional run, so he knows exactly what he wants to get done. He is actually poised to look pretty good on locking in a best of Lee Sin meadow. I mean, a 3-0 Lee Sin, you obviously know what you're doing with this deck, so I'm going to bet we might be looking at the Lee Sin best of winner, but of course, we will know when everything's said and done. Let's see what Irelia does on this turn. Double Stellar Corn Herder, meaning double draw. And is it going to be enough? Because Theric, as you said, brings it up to 3. So that's 8 might versus the 7 might. And simply to flash. Interesting. So what is that? A
Oh,
quadruple draw this
that's a
turn?
draw 5.
Right. A
Plus the
quintuple
Dreaming Tree.
draw.
Wow. The Lucian is at 7, I believe, right? Steric's
Right.
gauge for 3, Lucian's at 3, and the buff for 1?
It was. He was
Yeah.
definitely at 7. So double herder was just attacking for 6. So he's definitely just did that for an impressive 5 draw. When do you ever draw 5? That's more than a progress day.
Yeah, I've seen it out of like Aurora Volibear playing out a Cadrigan with 5 guys on board, but not much else. It is hard to get draw in that number.
Yeah, funny enough, you draw 5, but you still have to get through that upper Dreaming Tree. I mean, you have to get the Lucian one isn't too much of a problem. It is the Dreaming Tree up top. On top of having a hidden card, thinking about the hidden card potential being calm, being body, I would only imagine perhaps something of the like of a Zonya's Hourglass. What are we thinking, Dimitri? What can that hidden card be?
Yeah, Zhonya's makes a lot of sense here. There's not really many tools that he could have. I mean, the other things are like here to help if he wants to pull something out of his hand, but I don't think his list had many tools for that kind of thing. Um, that's about it. Yeah, so it's probably just going to be that. Oh, it could be the green card that was like designed for Azir that's a flash basically, where it's like
Oh,
move
the
as many
Emperor's
units as you want from a
Divide,
battlefield.
right. That makes sense on a Dreaming
Yeah.
Tree.
And if you send Irelia with like 16 buffs in and you have an answer for a repeated Thwonk, um, the Emperor's Divide to save all your units really makes sense to so that this Azir can or this Lee Sin can double conquer back after that. So I really like the hidden here. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm loving it, as you said. And the big nuance and the big difference between a Flash and an Emperor's Divide. Emperor's Divide, I'll pull it up here shortly. It actually says any amount of units on a battlefield back to base. So you're not restricted to a single two or single one or single two units. And Ride the Wind, this Irelia is greedy for the card draw, but perhaps just short of answers, which is surprising to me. After drawing 5, you should
Yeah.
have the answers in hand, but who knows? And a Defiant Dance, it looks to be quite beneficial at that. And look, yeah. So yeah, draw 1 for pushing forward, Dreaming Tree.
Yeah.
Draw 1 for
It's
pushing back.
the issue is, right, is now the Aurelia gets to the point where he has so many cards in hand that his limiting factor is runes. And so spending one for the Ride the Wind is rough. But the need to find really efficient cards like the Defiant Dance is high. So I think it makes some sense for him to have gone in with that Ride the Wind just because he needs to get to those really efficient rune tools.
Right. And we'll see. It looks like he has no priority in trying to take down that upper Dreaming Tree, as we said before. Honestly, there's very little things you can do. I've never seen quite an established battlefield as we've seen this Lee Sin player get to, and he did it nice and early. I believe that Sona and that Poro on top of the Lee Sin has been there for at least 3 turns now, or it might be the 3rd turn as he passes his turn, but it's been staying there for the entirety of this game, which is honestly super impressive, because one of the hardest things to do in the game of Riftbound is to hold a battlefield. You're like, yeah, there's a couple ways to score. You could score by conquering, you could score by holding, but I believe the stats are extraordinary in the favor of conquering. I think like 70% of the points scored in a Riftbound game is usually just strictly conquering. Very few are actually from holding, but this Lee Sin wanting to change the game a bit, and he's trying to get the majority of his points from holding, interesting enough.
Yeah, Sona really letting him go for that. And it was
Oh
Poro down on turn 1, Sona turn 2, and what is this? Is this a Leona?
no, that's another Lee Sin. That's +4 for every
Oh,
single buff.
wow. Those units are massive now.
Yeah, Aurelia is gonna need something like a unchecked power to get rid of this Dreaming Tree, and now with the point tempo leaning in the favor of G1L, this is looking very good for Lee Sin in this game number 1 of this round number 4 to go his way. There is just nothing you could do. Rebuke one of the Lee Sins. Yes, you have another one. Rebuke both of the Lee Sins. You still have a big amount of units to get through. I am loving Lee Sin's position. More so, I'm loving what he's doing in this deck. This Sona allowing him to get 4 runes every single end of turn. This is like Annie, but on steroids, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from Lee Sin.
I do think there is a possible line for Aurelia. One of the things that lets Aurelia break massive battlefields is being able to pump up Aurelia massively and then go in with the Guardian Angel, trade for half of their might, ready that Aurelia again, and go back in. So it's possible to, with like a double Defiant Dance and a Boots of Swiftness, get in there for enough damage, clear out both Lee Sins, and then head back in after that. I could see it being broken, but it's a very uphill climb to do so. Have you done much breaking these 30, 40 might battlefields plus?
You know, if
Do you
there's
know how likely
one
it is?
unit that can do it, and there's one card combinations, as you said, the Guardian Angel with a plethora of combat tricks. We're talking about multiple Defiant Dances, multiple on guards and disciplines at that. There's one unit that could get it done, because once Guardian Angel trades, you keep all the might increases for the remaining of the turn, so you're able to ready it with the final combat trick and then send everything over. And we said there wasn't any Draven Audacious in the deck. Perhaps they were in the sideboard, and that's actually could be a way of
Game
closing
one.
things out. Wait a second, but you need your opponent to conquer, because Draven needs to win in a combat, doesn't he?
But this is one of the decks where Draven can win combats while doing holding because of Charm. He pulls out the Charm to bring a unit over, forcing the opponent to start a combat and letting him win to win that point tempo over. Does he have the cards to actually win this combat though now?
Yeah, he does win a combat, so he's going up to
He
7 points.
does.
He needs another. Actually, wait a second. Taking the point
No,
tempo
he's
from this Lee
ahead.
Sin player.
And now Lee Sin has to figure out how to take back this Dreaming Tree, and if that's an Emperor's Divide hidden, he can send all of this might in there. This might come down to one massive final showdown.
I love what you're saying, Dimitri. Let's see that Emperor's Divide. Everything comes back in the ready position, and then you send everything over, trying to conquer the Fervent, the Stellacorn, the Draven Audacious, and there it is. The Emperor's Divide was indeed the card under the hood. So
A
every single
Defy?
unit, if you want, for sure think the Lee Sins come back. Oh,
A second
double
Emperor's
Defy,
Divide. The
but the
second
Defy
Defy.
for the
The third
Defy.
Defy. It's all coming out to stop this from happening, and it looks like Lee Sin is going to come out on top with one more Defy.
Unbelievable
Wow.
sequence of events going down in this very last moments of this game number one. Incredible stuff. He said, no, I have the Defy for your hidden card. Oh, I have another one, Defy for the Defy, making sure every single unit will get recalled back to base, more importantly in a ready position, allowing each of those units to standard move over to the Irelia battlefield. He conquered one, or held one at 7, and will conquer up to 8 points. GG. Power Spike should be all but locked in to get this game number one. And it actually, it's funny enough, I can't believe we're already in round 4. These rounds have been flying.
Yeah, well, this is, yeah, round 4. Wow. For anyone confused, it went Emperor's Divide, Defy. He let that resolve. He does another Emperor's Divide. It gets defied, and then he defies the Defy. So the second Emperor's Divide should be going through as it stands right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, Irelia is completely tapped out unless there's a card we completely don't know. Maybe a future card in
Oh,
set
yeah.
3. But Irelia is out of options. That was 2 cards invested. And Yuri saying, wait a second, what is he complaining about the judge for? Yeah, it looks like the judge
That was a
calls.
pretty dominant fashion, too. Irelia had a lot of tricks, had 20 cards, and Lee Sin was still managing to take that down. Wow, does that change your view of the matchup going forward? I think that was just game 1, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest card and the biggest difference maker in that matchup had to be Sona, because Sona enabled him to have a whole lot of defensive capabilities in that game number one. But, I mean, it was a little bit of a combination between the buffs coming out from the Lee Sin Legend and then the Lee Sin Chosen Champion. The +2 was very crucial with holding that fort down, right? Because that was every single turn
Yes.
he buffed the unit. And then when you stack those up, you're like, oh, that's not going to matter too much. But now those buff ended up being +3 on every single one of those units.
Yeah, we're still figuring out what those game 2 battlefields are. Okay, and they've dropped. Sunken Temple versus Monastery of Hirana.
Yeah, fantastic battlefields for both of these players, as Irelia will be on the play, so things like Sneaky Deckhand won't be online, but you do have a Siren. Best card in Irelia deck to play around the likes of Draven, I want to say. You get in, and then you come out with the Siren. A really fantastic card for the Stellacorn Herder. We saw how impressive card draw potential the Irelia had going forward with the end. Speaking of the devil, the Stellacorn Herder
Oh,
established
no.
as early as that opening 2 turns, so feeling good about the curve so far.
The issue is sometimes, even when you have that Stellacorn, you run out of runes. And so with this Lucian going in and out, not losing any value by holding potentially, they might be able to get ahead by just having more runes in the long run if they have that Sona line again. Let's see.
Let's see, and he's saying you have to tap 1 for your unit, so +1 on the Lucian, allowing him to pick up 1 draw. I think this Monastery Hirana will be changing things, because the only card draw he had last game was on the back of Dreaming Tree. Granted, he did pick up quite a bit of draws from that Dreaming Tree, but now the Monastery Hirana, it will strictly benefit Lee Sin only in this game. So let's see, and it looks like 2 with the Stellacorns, right?
It's gonna be a Stellacorn on Stellacorn game, and you were talking about draw power being an issue. It is no longer going to be what it looks like. Both players will have very healthy hands with these Stellacorns.
I do believe so. The only baseline interaction for Irelia will be those charms, and the charms doesn't look to be too impactful as you don't have any units to benefit from the charms, of course. Establishing out a naked Irelia Fervent. Maybe that's not the best word to use, but you guys know what I mean. I mean, like, unprotected, no guardian angel Fervent hitting the board. So if there's a challenge, a discipline, oh, there's a world you could take down the Fervent before it really starts getting out of control, but I don't think he has the cards in hand.
Yeah, it is possible. Challenge would work. Potentially could do a charm somehow. I don't know if he was on that, but there's not a lot of options here, and his might is pretty small at the moment.
Yeah, it is. And even if he did have the challenges, it would cost him a bit with the deflect as well. Does buff up the I almost want to say Soraka, but it is a Stellar Corn Herder, so buffs it up, sends it into the monastery. That's going to be a double draw, but you're not able to retreat it back like the Siren did on the Irelia side. Uses the buff, so as we said, that will be the second draw of the turn. Let's see what they have in mind, because Lee Sin no longer able to add any buff, so Lucian does go up to 3 points themselves, retreats back to base. And what do they have? Okay, the Sona that did incredible work in game number 1, trying to make a difference in this game number 2, but it feels slightly different because none of your units are buffed. So what, you're only defending for 7? I'm wondering about this play.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be this is the efficient time to get value out of this Sona and attempt to protect this Delacorn. And even if the Sona dies, you might be able to pull it out from being ahead in the point tempo and making your opponent waste too many cards. But it does feel like this might be Aurelia's chance to break into this battlefield before it gets out of control.
Yeah, I could definitely agree. Let's see if he has the same idea in mind. Goes ahead and plays out that biggest safety net for the Fervent. Gets the Guardian Angel online. Chooses it, so +2. 1 for turn, 1 for the Chosen. Tries to get the simple conquer first. I wouldn't blame him of getting a double draw here before committing to this push. But likes the push first, so I believe right now it's 7-7. Okay. Emperor's Divide, bringing both of those units back unless there's something like a Defy like we saw at the end of the game number 1, but I don't think I would use it here. I don't think it makes too much of a difference.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, and it really makes sense for him to have played that Sona like that to the battlefield when you know that he has that Emperor's Divide in hand to just pull everything back to safety. I like this line that he's taken.
Yeah, I definitely do. And you know, I'm kind of seeing that the synergy coming out from the Lee Sin. I see how he makes Sona work, because one of the biggest downfalls for Sona is that in against this Draven filled meta, you're leaving a unit on the battlefield. And I mean, yes, Draven does get an additional draw even if you Emperor's Divide, but at the minimum, you're keeping your cards safe, but trying to not keep them safe. A charm coming down, forcing his hand with the Defy. Is there a Defy to the Defy? Man, these com decks going crazy.
Yeah, they're just going back and forth. We're getting our Sona charmed over, and now do we try and defend her, or do we just let her lose this?
Yeah, honestly, I'm a bit worried because we are talking about a Fervent, right? One discipline is a +3 on the Irelia. You could punch first, but that's still not going to be enough. And then you're out the door, 2 body runes. Honestly, I mean, call it hindsight or commentary booth knowledge, but I think you just let it go. What about you, Dimitri? Are we letting this go, or are we committed?
I think I let it go as well. However, it does look, based on that Aurelia's hand, like he doesn't have combat tricks, really. Okay, he does have a discipline at least. But this is very expensive. I think the Lee Sin is priced into using a discipline now, too. And he's so low on runes for the next turn. I don't know. This seems rough.
Yeah, I think the one bit of a deciding factor for me is the GA. No matter if you win the combat, Aurelia doesn't ever truly die because of the Guardian Angel, right? So you're investing a whole lot of resources on saving the Sona. Yes, is a big pivotal card, of course. You're able to ready 4 runes, but as you said, you're going down to 3 runes. You have 5 runes the next turn. You're not able to make too much of a play. I don't even think you could play your Lee Sin champion, or if you do, that's everything you're gonna be able to get done that turn. So you can't buff up with your legend and play that Lee Sin champion. So things aren't looking too good. And to make matters worse, the Aurelia still
But it
sticks
works.
around.
I think if it works, it's worth it because you get to untap, because you get to keep that Sona, which means instead of 5 runes, you realistically have 9 to be working with. And you get the point from conquering on the opponent's turn. So he is way up in point tempo at this point.
Yeah, definitely up there because he should be able to go up to 6 points here. Lucian, get in, get out. Stop messing around and then back to base. I think this Sona had a great game plan of holding the fort down like he did in game 1. I think in this game number 2, you have to try to adapt to the current situation, and he might be better off retreating the Sona because you just invested a punch versus discipline. I don't know how much more he has. I'm leaning towards just try to play out as much units as you can. Maybe a Sunlit Guardian, a Lonely Poro, even a First Mate, something of the like to try to push forward on that final 6 to 8 point hold. And looks like he does play the Sunlit Guardian. And maybe just the Poro, I would imagine. No, the buffs it looks like. Valuing the buffs because Lee Sin could make that +2 for each of those buffs. So that makes somewhat sense.
Do you move the Stellacorn here and get any draw power? I don't. I guess if you're pulling back the Sona, you can't afford to. Yeah.
I like this play. As we were saying, I think you just retreat and you bank on going from 6 to 8 points. You need a couple. I mean, you're praying Irelia taps out. That is a dream come true, but Irelia never truly taps out. You have enough runes for something like at minimum a rebuke. And to make matters work, there is a charm in hand. So that Sona / Lucian might not be around for that final 6 to 8 push, of course. So this is tricky. I think Aurelia, with the sheer hand size, looking to close things out despite being behind slightly on points. I just think she has one too many answers in hand. Let's see how it plays out though, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Irelia can get a lot going here and hold up a lot of runes, but the issue is she's not used to facing down these defies and stuff that the Lee Sin keeps bringing back to cause issues with. I still put this at Lee Sin favored, but I don't know. I think it could still go either way.
Okay, you're still feeling good about Lee Sin's position. I could almost see. I just feel like Aurelia Fervent will be able to hold any kind of onslaught. I mean, I guess Lee Sin accelerated. Sunlit Guardian goes up to what? 3, 4, 5, 6 attack. I don't know. It's tricky. It's definitely tricky. It looks like he's prioritizing getting one more additional draw before passing it on over. Because I think from that point, you need to keep as many runes available on this push as you can. You have a double rebuke, so at the minimum, you want at least 4 runes. Maybe 2, 4, 6. Yeah, you might just have to pass from here. Double rebuke and a discipline might just be the best line of play, or at the minimum 2 1 cost plays, double on guard, double defiant dance. But I think 2 rebukes is essential for that final hold, or at least stopping
my
Lee
issue
Sin.
is, yeah, Irelia has to be so focused on keeping one battlefield, right? And so that means all of these combat tricks are probably going with the Irelia, which means Lee Sin could just sneak into Sunken Temple and hold it down the way he was doing in game 1.
Okay. I mean, with the Siren, it makes it rather easy to kind of effectively gank on over to the other battlefield, and then you save your combat tricks on the offense. You could just rebuke proactively instead of defensively. So I still think like it ends up being similar situation, but he does decide to invest one of those rune resources to hide most likely a fight or flight. And now the ball is in Lee Sin's court. Can he close things out with 7 runes, 3 units? It seems like a tall task if you ask me, but let's see.
It does. The other option he has here is the Irelia player is only at 5 points. So he could just take a full turn off to build up his base and choose not to go in yet.
Right. Especially you have to be a bit
He
mindful of
does
the
have a
Draven
Thwomp.
Audacious as well, but saying, you know what, let's go ahead and risk it for the biscuit. I don't believe you have a way of taking down all these units. I guess he's banking on that Lee Sin champion, buffing up one of these Lucians like buffing up one of these units like a Lucian, but it just doesn't seem like an impressive defensive hold. Maybe because we know there's a double rebuke in hand, but there is a not so fast, I believe, as well from Lee Sin. So both of these players coming down to the very last moments of this game number 2 does get the draw from Sunken Temple. Actually, no, from Stellarcorn it was.
Mm-hmm. And that was a very long pause while you were talking of the Irelia player considering, do I waste this hidden card and spend everything I've got moving the Irelia with Ride the Wind over to Sunken Temple and conquering here to try and go up to 8 on my own turn? Or do I let this be a longer game of fighting it out for 2 more turns? And he chose the long route. Do you think you would have gone for the conquered the Sunken Temple as Irelia on this turn here, or do you think you also favor the play it defensive strategy that you've been talking about of, hold it back and rebuke on his turn?
Yeah, I feel like with the Siren, you don't feel too bad. I do like the Ride the Wind play to try to catch your opponent by surprise, but looking at the hand in Lee Sin, that Twonk coming in to the equation might pose a bit of a problem for any incoming attackers, of course. If the Fervent tries to buff up, or of course you wouldn't buff it up beforehand, but as anticipated, the Lee Sin champion does get played on the Sunken Temple. Do you go ahead and play... do you go ahead and buff one of your units with your last remaining rune? This is just going to be straightforward math for the Irelia player because you're completely tapped out. You do have one hidden card. I guess the one saving grace, Irelia doesn't go up to 8 the next turn, does she? She is going up to a max of 7.
Exactly. Your one threat here of Irelia going up to 8 would be a Draven, but the number of runes that Irelia has to spend to be able to get into the Sunken Temple means that she won't be able to play Draven as well. So I think it will work out, if that's an Emperor's Divide hidden, to be able to defend potentially. But or retreat and then double conquer. But the issue here is he doesn't have the runes for Thwomp. So a single Defy might be enough to get Irelia there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think a Defy will change the entire game plan for these Lee Sin because he's banking off if Irelia has enough combat tricks to get things done on the other side of the battlefield, go ahead and Emperor's Divide. And Emperor's Divide is a reaction speed going before the rebuke. Does he want to go ahead and reveal his hand, retreat everything back to base? And that he does. The options are clear though. Do you choose your entire units? I feel like you just can't pick apart one or two. I think it's all or none, right?
You can choose any number of units, but the thing is, he doesn't need to defend this. As we said, the Irelia player is only able to go up to 7 points, and now that he spent the rebuke, he can't afford the Draven. So there's no threat of 8. I think you just pull everything back and double conquer on your own turn.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I think you just choose it all. I believe Aurelia's perhaps considering a negate / defy, something to counter out this Emperor's Divide. I mean, if he had a defy, I would only imagine it would have been played out already, so most likely doesn't have any counter capabilities for the Emperor's Divide. So thinking very carefully, he does not like his position. He doesn't most likely have any impactful units with 5 runes available. You can perhaps play out another Irelia if you had one. You could play out another Stellarcorn, but that's just 3 might. I like this Lee Sin. Are we about to see a 2-0 from Lee Sin? I could be getting ahead of myself because there's a lot of combat tricks for Irelia.
Yeah, Irelia has 5 up, and Lee Sin, we know one of his best tools in hand is that Thwonk on defense, and he's not going to play defense here. So that Thwonk is dead. He's only got, what, like a discipline or 2? He's very low on combat tricks right now. It's very close.
Yeah, perhaps if he hits something like that impressive punch first off the top of the deck, could feel a bit better about that. but he has to conquer both. So it's tricky because Irelia could choose to, let go of one battlefield and invest every single combat trick into the Irelia battlefield. With that in mind, maybe you test the waters, go for the fervent battlefield first, see how much combat trick he has. I mean, this is a tricky position. I don't envy the Lee Sin player because I don't know how I'm maneuvering this, honestly. It would have to depend what's in hand, of course, but this is definitely a very, very tricky position, like I said.
I think for me, the first move is that buffed Stellacorn into the Irelia Stellacorn. You're one bigger and you're going to be able to get some draws off that. So you can force out any combat tricks on that less important fight that the Irelia doesn't want to defend, and then you get to draw 2 cards off of that. One instead of going to 8 and one for the move. So you get to see extra tools before going into that Irelia. I think that's how I would play it.
Okay. Yeah, let's see what he decides to do then. I do think that's the more optimal line. It looks like, is that a marching order? Something like a challenge, but buffs up the Lucian just to get +3 essentially. And goes for the straightforward conquer first on the Stellacorn Herder. Does he decide to invest any kind of resources, or does he want to save every single combat trick for the Irelia hold? You do get more of the value from those hold, with the +1 being chosen on the fervent each and every time. And now's not the time to see the whole hand. I guess now better than ever. I do want to see the entire hand. Okay, I think I see a Sterix gauge, so...
Yeah, the reason we went in with the Lucian is Lucian can come back and we have a first mate, I bet. And that first mate means this Lucian can do double duty and attack into both battlefields this turn.
I love that. Most likely what he has in mind, but the Defiant Dance having another thing in mind. So up to -2 for Lucian, trying to equalize that -2 with a discipline of their own. I think Aurelia's short on counterplay, so I don't think the 5s are not so fast coming down. Or I think I do see one not so fast, but it doesn't work on spells, of course, or it doesn't work on when you don't choose your own. It doesn't work on anything that doesn't choose your own units, of course. So Lucian should be able to have enough, forcing Irelia to have one more combat trick in mind. And every combat trick invested into Stellacorn Herder, that's one combat trick not invested into the Fervent hold. So this is a tough. You see Euro just kind of digging deep into that think tank, saying, wait a second, what do I actually do here? This is coming down to the bitter end of this game number 2.
I think he has to go for a ride the wind over and defend harder on one battlefield. I think that's his only shot of getting there, is a ride the wind plus the rebuke, maximum defense on one spot, and he doesn't go for that. I think the math just doesn't work out here for him. And he might have seen that it doesn't work out, but just doesn't see a ride the wind line.
Yeah, I didn't see it going forward. Perhaps, I mean, he does indeed have the ride the wind, but didn't see it. I mean, Aurelia's already ready, so wouldn't get that plus additional draw. But it looks like the graphic already gave Lucian the victory, being at 8, but he just holds, or doesn't hold. But I wonder if this is, no, they can't have the inside scoop. I don't want to see it. I want to see him actually do it. And oh man, a challenge being picked up from that 7th to 8th pseudo conquer, if you will. Gets retreated back, has exactly enough runes for something like a punch first and a first mate. Is that everything you need to get over this Irelia? Oh, wait.
I think so. Okay.
I guess so 2's less than 3.
Yeah, it is. The Emperor's Divide pulls it back, and that's going to be enough there. Wow.
They are showing the deck list before the game, so they're probably going to be showing this deck list, as I believe we have another Aurora player, most likely a Sivir, perhaps even a Misfortune. I like what I'm seeing in Bologna. Is there a resurgence of Misfortune coming out to Bologna? Because I'm hearing great things from MF.
I have no idea. I could definitely see it being that way. I've been liking it some in testing, but who knows? The meta definitely seems different, with Draven only at, what was it, 15% here? So 7% of the meta has moved away from Draven and to these other more rogue decks, and maybe that's one that's been finding some success.
You're so right. You know, that's another point to kind of nail on is to 15% of the current deck distribution out in day one, or actually the entire main event for Bologna, is on Draven, where as we saw in China, and whoa, what is this matchup? Sivir versus Volibear. I love to see it. I haven't seen a Volibear what feels like a lifetime. This should be exciting.
Same. Yeah, I do think another caster's ready. I'm not sure if we're switching over now. Do you remember?
Oh no, this is still round 4. Look at the bottom. But yeah,
Oh, this is the
after
other round
this,
4 one. I see. I see. Okay.
they give
Yes.
remembers 2
I
matches per
love
round.
Volley. I forgot that they did improve the stream by having the backup matchups. That's great.
Yeah, so this is the backup
Volley
matchup. But yeah, Dimitri,
Sivir.
we'll go ahead and close this one out together, and then we'll bring in the next caster.
Okay.
But has these been flying for you, or is it just me? Because I feel like we've been moving and
It has
grooving.
been, yeah.
These have been flying. I almost feel like we could have done 3 rounds each caster, but maybe we'll think about that going forward. But yeah, we'll knock this one out together as I already had the little agenda. But this should be an exciting one to close things out
Perfect.
together.
So double obelisk is that, or is that one sigil, one obelisk?
Yeah, as you said, 1 sigil, 1 obelisk.
Okay. Do you expect these sides to both be Aurora? Because I know people have been experimenting with Miracle Sivir and with mid-range Volley, and I don't know what lists to be expecting from people. Minotaur, wow.
Wow. Minotaur coming down. A bit of a Draven counter, a bit of a Miracle package counter. And to answer your question, I think the simple fact of the Ezreal champion, the Ezreal prodigy being on the board, that has to be an indication of a Sivir Miracle deck. I don't think a lot of Aurora decks would run a low 3-might unit. I mean, he's a great 3-might unit, but I think it's definitely more that Randy build he displayed in China.
Yeah, now that we're seeing these, we're seeing the On the Hunt, we're seeing the Confront, it checks out. How well does Sivir do into a Minotaur, though? I know Purple loves to move back out of battlefields. I don't know Sivir in particular, though.
Yeah, I mean, at the minimum, I know the Sivir champion can enable ganking to move from battlefield to battlefield, but Minotaur specifically says units can't move to base, so you can rebuke them back to hand. You can ride the wind over to other battlefields, so perhaps Sivir has some workarounds for this Minotaur, but it is tricky, and 2 Minotaurs, that effect doesn't necessarily stack, but what is the card in the middle of the dragon? I know him as a dragon. You get +1 draw for everything that's mighty.
Hadrigan.
What is it?
Hadrigan.
Cadrigan. Okay, I always mess up the name. I'll try to remember going
Yeah.
forward. Cadrigan. He's such a great card.
He is. And so it looks like this is a mid-range volley playing these efficient 5-6 cost 5-might units to ramp really high and then spam Hadrigan as you draw 4, draw 5, late game blowout.
And yeah, I think we get full 100% confirmation with that scrap heap getting pitched. This is indeed that miracle. Miracle Sivir, as we said before. So I feel like Sivir can go decently quick if this is more of that dazzling Aurora / late game Volibear list. But we didn't see an Aurora in hand. Perhaps this is just like good units. Volibear good stuff. Volibear mid-range, if you will. But I still feel like Volibear is just a tad too slow, because from the looks of things, I think Volibear is going to be establishing a unit 1 by 1. Pass the turn, play 1 unit. You back to your turn, play a single unit. He's not really known for playing more than 1 unit, and I think that's what's going to be giving Sivir a slight upper hand if she's able to deal with each of these units effectively.
I agree. I think the advantage that Volley could have is playing these mid-range units and being able to start turn 2 with them means he's not that behind in points, and he's gonna ramp to the point where he can play unit plus some sort of powerful spell each turn. So if he's drawing into Falling Stars or more of these Sky Splitters, he might be able to keep up enough defense going on that that 1 unit per turn doesn't hold him back.
Yeah, very true. And some of these units at least cost just 5 energy, like the Minotaur, so perhaps can leave some open. It looks like a Catalyst of Aeon, so that does signal to me that it is most likely a Dazzling Aurora deck. Perhaps with the Sabotage, it has been eliminated, but we got in on the yeah, this is definitely the beginning. It's just not game number
Mhm.
1. If we look on the screen above, this is actually game number 2, whereas Sivir took game number 1 away from Volley.
Yeah, I could see Catalyst coming in because he needs some play to do before he gets to 5 runes, even if he is not on Aurora. There's not really much that Volley wants to do with 4 and fewer runes. So it does make some sense to me. Bryn here coming down early. This is at like a tempo Bryn here. Very interesting.
It is. It's almost just like playing him out for the might. But interesting enough, he had another Minotaur. I would have elected to just play out. If we just need a 5 might unit, might as well just play out a Minotaur of your own. Perhaps just trying to guarantee the control or guarantee the conquer against the traveling merchant. But I agree with you. I think that that Brynir was a little bit unnecessary, but it is a good unit nonetheless. It's just not a great time for now.
Yeah, I think the Bryn here comes down if you're afraid of a punch first, and it looks like he wanted to move that Minotaur in, but chose not to, which means that it really didn't need to be the Bryn here at all. I agree.
Yeah, especially if you're not going to contest the battlefield. It looks like he's prioritizing the safety of the Minotaur, because if you leave it on the battlefield, I believe something like if you pay two power this turn, that goes up to 6, so 1 more over the might of the Minotaur. So perhaps just trying to prioritize the safety. And then once Sivir, if he finds the opportunity that Sivir's a bit overextended with the champion on maybe the Sigil or the Obelisk, then he wants to go ahead and push on forward. But I want to see a bit more of the hand from the Sivir side. Does she have any kind of defensive cards? Things like the punch first he was probably worried about. Things like a fight or flight, which in this situation completely nullified from the Minotaur. I actually think this is the first time I see Minotaur coming into one of these Spiritforged games. And look at that, the merchant saying, no, 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 Minotaur's on board.
No movement for you. Yeah, all of these low-cost purple units, the Traveling Merchant, the Treasure Hunter, the Overzealous Fan, all hate this Minotaur card. It definitely messes up purple pretty bad.
Yeah, and it definitely messes up Irelia. Irelia's lucky she didn't face this Volibear player, but perhaps this is what Volibear's game plan is all along. Going against the Dravens that want to go back and forth on Reaver's Row, it kind of completely shuts down Reaver's Row as best as you can. But they're showing a challenge on the screen, so most likely the card that got pitched from that Ezreal Prodigy getting played out this turn. And now it looks like they're not going to be pushing forward on Sigil, so a bit of a low scoring game. It looks like Sivir approaching this matchup very similarly how you would approach a Draven matchup. You don't want to give away free combats, as it seems to me that Volibear player might just have these high might units that can easily take down your units. But I don't know. I think you could have scored perhaps 1, but you are at 2 points. There's no aspirant climb,
Yeah.
so I don't blame him staying at the even point tempo.
I think Volley has the better long game. He's going to be on higher runes, going to be summoning bigger dudes, and able to just like as you said, the issue he has is playing that one dude a turn. But if you're not going into the battlefields, you're not going to be getting that point advantage by nearly enough. So I don't like that holding back. I also don't love the discarding challenge, right? Doesn't he have
Right.
the 6 might Sivir? Couldn't he just have used challenge to just kill the Minotaur for free or something?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know, it
very
seems
curious
strange
to
to
me
me.
as well. But one thing I do want to point out, Dimitri, when was the last time we saw a carnivorous snapvine, right? It was so popular earlier on in
Ooh.
Riftbound. Everyone thought it was busted. But ever since, I don't know, I guess since Spiritforged came out, even a little bit middle into Origins, it hasn't really seen too much play, even in Volibear decks, funny enough.
Yeah, this is a card that I gotta look back at to remember what it does because it's been so long.
It's
Let's
basically a
see.
challenge on a unit. When it comes down, it does the challenge ability, but on a battlefield only.
Okay, I mean it's definitely solid for Volley because all of these units he gets to essentially pay 1 less power for. But I don't know that killing the merchant was worthwhile, there was probably going to be some better target later on.
Yeah, I think more so it's just as about establishing the unit nonetheless on the battlefield. Just a little extra ability coming into play there, but does play out another Minotaur. So if you challenge one, there is going to be another one to take care of. So this is looking like a tricky situation for Sivir because these are starting to get a bit too big for the Sivir to deal with. I mean, you do have things like Rosses that are 6 might. You could kind of effectively try to deal with them that way, but it's gonna cost you a bit. And oh man, did everyone
Plus, did you
play?
see what I saw?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. I think we're on the same wavelength here. There is a downwell in the hand of Sivir, isn't there?
Yes, sir. And that seems very strong into a Volibear that's putting 5 energy, 6 energy down on each of these units. Oh my god, that's gonna go for so many cards soon.
Yeah, sooner than later is what he has in mind. On top of that, you get your Ezreal Prodigies back, getting 2 extra draws from your deck each time you play them out, of course. So I think downwell soon enough. I don't think this turn would be perfect, but you do want to play it out before that Cadrigan hits the board, because right now, I mean, quick side note, I hate when players stack their runes like the volley player is doing, because there's no way of knowing how many runes he has. I can see a shadow, so it looks like a little bit of a deck there, but he doesn't just have 3 runes, right?
No, he is somewhere around 10 runes, I think. And that's a round where it's like, it's pretty hard to keep them all separate, but if you look at the rune deck, it's very thin. So I think
Mm-hmm.
he's at that 9-10 rune range.
Okay. What I was getting at though was you want to probably downwell before the Cadrigan hits the board, because that's going to be a +1 draw, +4 draw, actually +5 draw because it counts himself as well. But is it the time? Because downwell is, I believe, what, 7 energy costs, or is it 8?
I think it's 8, because Downwell plus Annie costs the full 12 for you, so it's got to be 8. I do think there's a world where you're fine with Cadrigan actually coming down, and you're fine with him getting a ton of draw power off of this, because you're just planning on winning the tempo game by killing off the things that are in battlefield, winning those points, and then bouncing everything back to hand on his own turn. So once the Cadrigan comes down, it doesn't matter how many cards the Volibear has, as long as he cannot get established for long.
Mm-hmm. I can see that as well, and it looks like he might be investing 2 of those powers to get those Rasas from hand onto these battlefields, perhaps just splitting the difference, Ezreal Raza on one, Ezreal Raza on the other, but it doesn't seem too much of an impressive hold. Perhaps I was spoiled on how big those Lee Sin holds were getting, but I feel like Volibear might not have the most trouble trying to conquer both these battlefields. It depends what's in hand. I actually don't see too many great hands in too many great cards for the volleyball player.
Oh,
Is
he
he
can
going
do the
for it?
downwell and then play the Rasas. That's the game plan here.
Oh, that is the game plan. Let's see if he's catching wind of the game plan, because he is going to be playing the downwell, everything on the board, going back to the hand. And if the Riftbound production is not going to show, I'll go ahead and put it up here on the screen for everyone at home. That 3 energy floating, were those chaos runes floating?
Yes, so those
Okay.
are from Rasa's, like the money being spent for Rasa, but the Rasa not coming down yet. Yep.
Okay. Perfect. So as you said, I'm seeing the synergy coming out from this Sivir deck. So the 3 energy floating were all chaos runes. So Rasa Seal will be the follow-up play on that downwell. So the tempo completely swinging in the direction of Sivir. As we said, Volibear player is a bit too slow to the punch. He's going to be playing out the most, maybe Minotaur, Snapvine, but nothing more than that, which will allow Sivir to conquer 1-2 battlefields next turn. And at that 6 points, you're not feeling all that bad. I mean, it's tricky. You do have a confront for that push from 6 to 8, but I don't think he has too many great units. But we'll see. It looks like this is a great game so far for sure.
Yeah, Sivir's not really about having super strong units or being able to overcome those 30 might battlefields that well. It's more about having that massive toolbox to be able to have just enough in each situation. And I think they're really going to have whatever tools they need to clear these battlefields after the Minotaurs get over these Rossas if Volley has some way to do that.
Yeah, it does have to try to find a way because right now Minotaur is just one might short to deal with those Rossas. Of course, they don't have anything like a simple Stupefy. You do have, as you mentioned before, those Sky Splitters doing, I believe, 5 damage. But I think no, what's the spell? No, yeah, Sky Splitter does just do 5 damage, but
Yeah,
it costs less for the highest might unit on the board. But Confront
exactly.
coming down. And oh, it looks like they might actually no, Randy did play that treasure trove package as well.
I know he played Treasure Troves. Yeah, I don't know if he played Pack of Wonders. I don't think so. I think it was just like a Treasure Trove because it lets you get a draw and get a gold off your legend, basically.
Yeah, I remember that as well. I believe it was strictly just the treasure trove to get the Sivir ability. So you get basically one channel rune, one gold, and then one draw for that treasure trove. So it looks pretty synergistic for Sivir decks.
Yeah, so Sivir opting to go in with the Ezreal instead of with the Rossas. This feels a little backwards to me because the Rossas do pose a threat to Volibear that he doesn't have clear answers for. How do you feel about this? Is he afraid of like a Blood Rush or something?
Right, that is an interesting decision because Volibear players don't tend to run those smaller spells like Cleave, like Blood Rush. So I like conquering up to 6 on that next turn, but playing it a bit more patiently, perhaps knowing and understanding that Volibear player simply has 1 point, just his first point being scored right now. So you have a whole lot
I
of
did
room
not
to
notice.
work with. Is that 2 points now?
It might be 2 points now. I did not notice how low the Volibear player was. You are so right about that. That does make things a lot easier to slow things down.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just prioritizing the safety of Rasa. But I agree. I anytime I can have the opportunity to get a clean 6 points, I love that position because then you get to 6, and then for the remaining next 2 to 3 turns, while Volibear player kind of stacks up their battlefields, you could go ahead and just establish the back line as healthy as you can. I say that, but I don't think Sivir has that many units. You do have the Sivir champ back in hand from the downwell. So this is tricky. Let's see, of course, and the Cadrigan does hit the board finally. So that will be a +3 draw. Volleyball player already has an abundance of cards in hand. So is the 3 additional cards really going to be worth it? If it's something like a Sky Splitter, it could be pretty good.
Keep in mind this Cadrigan also makes all of the Sky Splitters free now, right? Because
Right.
before his highest was 5 might, so he's probably saving runes in the long run, and he needs to be able to threaten the Sigil of the Storm as well. Oh, challenge coming down. I mean, this makes sense as another reason to have played the Cadrigan. Yeah.
Yeah, and it almost in hindsight looking better if you would have gone ahead and got that 6 point because now you're just behind run Rasa. As Cadogan would have most likely taken down the Rasa on the Sigil of the Storm, but you just didn't end up getting the point for that Rasa nonetheless. So let's see Saver back in her turn. She has a stacked deck, so I believe she might be able to start off with things like that. But I really want to see as I keep going back to the actual units in hand. I'm seeing a Fizz. Oh, aren't the double Ezreal still in hand, or is it just one?
Oh, I think so. Yes, it was the double Rasa, double Ezreal turn. Yeah, so both Ezreal should be in hand. There might be another unit in there too from that turn. That gives a lot of draw, and you probably push in the Rasa to go to 6 this turn, and you build up that base to get something to happen next turn.
Right, right. Let's see. I mean, he's looking like he wants to tap the 3 and maybe a seal for the Ezreal just to look a bit deeper into the deck, seeing what kind of resources you find for a potential establishing the base game plan. So tapping 3 and it's gonna be a last right. So looking to bring back a Rasa for the Conquer. So gonna be pushing it onto the Rasa itself. Gonna be putting back the Sivir Champ Treasure Trove. Okay, that makes sense. Scrap Heat and Treasure Trove back to the deck. And yeah, I believe the most likely target has to be something like a Rasa from the trash, right?
So here's a fun rulings question. You use the shovel with the Rasa, right? You play a Rasa from the trash. How much do you have to pay for that Rasa? Does it discount by itself or not? What do you
That
think?
is an interesting one, right? I mean, if you have, it looked like to him he definitely had way more than just 10 cards in hand. But you're saying if there was 10 in the trash and you remove that Rasa,
Right,
making
for
it 9
example.
in trash, do you have to pay the 1 energy?
Yes. What
I
do you
would
think?
say
Chat,
you
also give
do.
your answers.
Yeah, chat. Let us know your answers, but I'm saying you do as the Sky Splitter comes down, doing 5 damage on the Rasa. But go ahead. What is the actual answer?
Yeah, you do. So when you play a unit, you pull it to a like off the board zone of like this is where you play things kind of spot. And then you figure out how much it costs. So the Rasa is not in the trash while it's being played. So the cost is then if you had 10 cards in trash and you had to pull out the Rasa going down to 9, you would have to pay that one still for the Rasa. So good job on that. Yeah,
That does make sense. I think it literally came up in one of the Chinese regionals with the Sivir Randy list. I think he came up to the exact
it
same
did.
issue with him, which is why I took a good educated guess. But the Rebuke bringing that Minotaur back, the Rasa gets the Conquer up to 6, and now exactly the interaction we're trying to bring to everyone's attention. You're trying to bring back the Rasa, but in this circumstance, you have way more than 10 cards. It looks like at least
Oh yeah.
15 cards in the discard, so you're not too worried about that situation. You're only worried about losing your last Chaos Rune and leaving behind just 2 bodies. That can't feel good for the Sivir player.
Yeah, and you don't have enough runes to protect this Rasa who's at 8 from the Cadrigan unless maybe you're gonna use the last 2 runes on a punch first, but that seems very expensive. I don't know how I feel about the Sivir's position at the moment.
Yeah, funny enough, we're talking about a Sivir at 6 points on the cuffs of winning up to 8, and then a Volibear player being at 1 point. And we're saying we don't love her position, but I totally agree with you. I think the simple fact is the rune economy coming into play. Granted, Sivir players tend to get very low on runes. This is nothing too unusual for Sivir players, but I think with the simple fact that there's just 2 Rosses on the base, or 2 Rosses on the board in general, and Cadrigan being such a beast of a unit, having 9 total might, you take care of the Rasa. Unless is Sivir players that crazy? Are we going punch first, protecting everything we can, just trying to hold up to 7 and then conquer up to 8? Because there's a world he can't deal. Let's take a look at the hand. Snapvine. Yeah, he doesn't have challenge for the back line. Snapvine doesn't kill the
Yep.
Rasa because of the last right, so this is tricky. If there's a punch first, you might just win it out.
Yeah, another punch first coming down could do it, but the Aurora is very interesting with this many units to see. Cat's a little confused. What happened was Rasa play or the Sivir player played a punch first on the Rasa to put it up to 12, which is bigger than the Minotaurs. The Minotaur player then played that Sky Splitter to damage the Rasa, and then the Rasa player rebuked one of the Minotaurs so that he was still big enough for it not to be a trade. And then yes, he did miss the Sivir trigger. There's so many Sivir triggers to tap and untap. It's very easy to miss those in these competitive environments.
Right, very similar how perhaps people miss Ezreal draws. A lot of people tend to miss the Draven combat
Oh
draws,
yeah.
funny enough, as well. So small little things you always have to keep track at the highest level. And those little things do indeed add up, because perhaps having that one additional goal, we'll see if it does make an impact in this game number 2. But Volibear playing having a tough time deciding on his decision for this turn. As we said before, he doesn't have like phenomenal options, but you have to do what you can. I mean, do you just test the waters? Do you just send the Catergan in first and say, let's see what you have?
I would be tempted. There is also a line, he does have another Snapvine in hand. If he's afraid of a punch first, he could play the Snapvine just as a 5 damage spell so that he doesn't lose immediately to a punch first. But it's a rough choice to make on that for sure. And he does go for just sending in the Cadrigan.
Yes.
I don't know. It's rough.
Yeah, skating on rather thin ice here, but it has to do what you have to do. The Catergan going in, trying to say, do you have any kind of might increases? The only thing you would have is something like a punch first and does get paid for that interaction. So Catergan going up to 2 points. More importantly, you took care of one of the Rasas. If there's a world to take care of that Rasa in the back line, I say it, but I don't see any kind of challenge coming out. Is this just a play the dazzling Aurora and it looks like he's deciding on just that?
Yep.
What will be the hits off the top? Because there's so many units, I don't know what to expect from this Volibear player.
Yeah, something that could kill this Rasa in the backline if that's possible would be amazing. But I can't think of a unit that could. So maybe it's just hit a Volibear, hit a Cadrigan off the top, get something strong on board. I don't know.
Yeah, anything over 6, possibly over 8 might has to be feeling pretty good because of that. I would imagine, I mean, I saw a orange Volibear player, orange Volibear unit in hand, so perhaps running just one of those. We do see some Volibear players running things like Mountain Drake, as we've seen in the past. That's gonna be Sabotage, Sky Splitter, and Nefarious Forerunner. This is a this Volibear player is running every single red and body card over 5 might. It looks like.
Pretty much. I mean, there are so many good, like 5 to 6 cost cards in red and orange that fulfill this mighty condition. It is tempting to run them all, but I do think he's just on so many units he might be struggling to get the tools he needs here.
Yeah, just struggling to tell a little bit, but he should most likely be able to hold with a Cadrigan, with a Ferris Forerunner, and at the minimum, if you do get to take down the Forerunner, you do get those mechs in the base, of course, so you have to take care of 15 total might. Of course, a whole lot easier said than done. The Rasa, the last right, only gets you up to 8 total might. If you punch first, that brings you up to just 13. Actually, yeah. So you still don't have enough even with a punch first. So I think this Volibear player should be looking pretty good at the minimum to hold this next turn.
Oh no, but the Akshan stealing the Aurora comes down.
Oh.
And equips the last right. So this might turn things quickly. And also, the Sivir player is at 6 points. So you're talking about breaking this battlefield. Sivir doesn't need to.
True.
Sivir can just go into the sigil, go up to 7, and try and hold that one. And that's going to be very hard to deal with, especially with the Aurora switching sides.
Yeah, the Aurora just being a bit of a traitor, switching sides as you said, and I love what you're putting down. You're saying the Rasa go to Sigil the Storm and then just try to hold from there. Dazzling Aurora is going to allow you to play another card on top of that. But one thing we haven't seen from this Volibear player is too much of accelerated pressure. If they have things like a Confront, that could be one step forward trying to close things out or actually try to bring themselves back into this game. But the last right does come in. So yeah, I think at the minimum, you should be able to go ahead and play last right Rasa onto Sigil, bring back the Rasa onto the Sigil, and then the final third and last unit from the Dazzling Aurora, and then just pray from there. That 7 to 8 point hold should be your way of guaranteeing this up to that 2-0 victory you deserve. But Volibear player is making it awfully close. It does depend what he has in hand, but in his hand right now, he doesn't have the answers. So I think it does depend on that final draw he gets next turn.
And there is one card when I've been testing against Volibear that time and time again can pull Volibear out of these situations, and that is his signature spell, which moves a unit into that battlefield, deals damage equal to that unit's might to everything the opponent has in that battlefield, and then would let him conquer it after clearing it. So very much can turn the tides and speed his way over there, but it is expensive, and I don't know if he's going to be able to afford playing that and playing enough defense.
Are we talking about the Volibear signature spell or it's a unit?
Yes. No, the signature spell.
Yeah, that would be a brilliant card to play, but the Fizz off the Dazzling Aurora most likely going to allow him to get something like a stacked deck, but you're completely tapped out, so you're not going to be able to do too much. Looking at the Rebuke, wishes you could play it. At the least, I think a stacked deck doesn't feel that bad. A challenge doesn't feel all that crazy, but a Sabotage seems to be like the ideal card to go ahead and make sure he has exactly full knowledge of what's coming down on the next turn. And yeah, as it stands, he doesn't have the answers. He doesn't have the accelerated units to push onto the Sigil of the Storm. So this Sabotage was just to kind of have a bit of a breather, if you will, because I'm feeling pretty good after seeing this hand.
Yeah, he does get a draw from the Catalyst of Aeons to try and find an answer, but that really needs to be an answer in the top 2 cards of his deck, or this game is already over.
Yeah, and I guess the Volibear signature spell might just be the answer. Does signature spell really read deal damage to everything on that battlefield? I have to pull it up again.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Is deal damage to everything and then move a unit in there. Yeah, it's so strong.
What
And
was
it's
the name again?
it's
Oh,
like
why can't I
6
remember the
cost.
name of the signature spell?
Chat, what's the name?
Chat, help us out. What is the name of the signature spell for Volibear? I'll pull it up here as soon as I find it, but Stormbringer, I think.
Stormbringer. I found it.
Yeah, I found it
Yeah,
too. Nice.
Stormbringer.
So that is the only
that's
out
the
for
only
the
line I see.
Volibear player. He plays Sabotage, but not too fruitful in this circumstance, as all you're looking for is something like that Volibear signature spell. The Stormbringer might be the only window of opportunity to try to get back in this game. You're down 1 game. You have to win this game, or else you're going to be going in 2-2. And that is not a good record to start your Bologna journey off with. I believe X2 is the most amount, X2 is the least, how should I put it, is the most amount of losses you can actually give up to make day 2. So having 2 losses as early as round 4, you are not looking too good on your chances of moving on forward, unless you go undefeated from here. It's not impossible, but not too likely, of course.
Yeah, it is a very rough position. It looks like a double Carnivorous Snapvine is going to be enough to let the volley player see another day, but it's not going to feel good, and this Aurora is still going to be giving the Sivir value turn after turn.
And this all comes down on Volibear player just being one too many points behind. I guess the double Snapvine is one way of effectively kind of pushing those units away from the Sigil of the Storm, but now you're out of Snapvines, and now you do have 1 5-mite unit. Actually, I think Snapvine might be a 6-mite unit. I just haven't seen it in forever, but it looks like 6 from here on the screen. So if you're able to defend with more than 6 might, oh man, this is getting awfully close. If Volibear was any bit closer to getting up to the 8th point, it would almost feel like he's favored. But the fact that he's only at 4 points, holding up to 5 points, that's at minimum 2 more turns that Sivir gets to work with. So I still feel like I give the upper hand to Sivir, but perhaps she's running a bit low on resources as well. I haven't seen the hand in a couple turns.
Yeah, it's an Ezreal, it's a Fizz, and whatever they topped for turn. I think this Aurora and the Akshan being coupled is a very awkward thing, where at some point they will need to go into the battlefield with the Akshan, and it looks like they might be doing it now, and risk giving this Aurora back, and just putting it all in on this turn, it looks like.
Yeah, because you can't even bluff. Actually, you do have a gold there, so you can't bluff something like a punch first, but you're absolutely right. The last thing you want to do as the Sivir player is return that Dazzling Aurora. And if you do, perhaps it's not the end of the world, because you have to hit something like a Deadbloom Predator to contest the Sigil of the Storm. If it's anything else, which he has so many other units in the main deck, so it's very limited. That is going to be something like as picture perfect as that Deadbloom. And this is looking like he's wants to hold as best as he can. Because what is that? That's 6, 12 up to 3. So 15 total might. Or no, more than that. No, 15.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also whatever the Aurora hits in addition. So it's going to be a lot of might on this battlefield. And it might just be another turn of, can we top the Stormbringer?
Yeah, I imagine it's now the time. You do have maybe 2 looks at it. Actually, because you recycle so much, Catalyst of Aeons is no longer good. And the Rasa. That is probably the best card. The highest might unit you have in your deck to hit the board. and that is a monsters of a battlefield. I don't think Volibear, he got pretty not lucky, but he had the perfect card combinations to get rid of 2 units, the Snapvine followed by the Snapvine. I just don't think, I mean, funny enough, you would only have 1 additional Snapvine, but now you have to clear 4 units in a single turn. I think Sivir's looking good despite being a little stressed out at 127 beats per minute.
I agree. This is definitely an intense game for the Sivir where they have to be playing fairly precise about the timing of when to go in and when to not for these card rages. But I think they've been doing it well, and I think the raised heart rate is going to pay off for them.
Right. Perhaps just using all that energy into brain power, but it looks like the time has hit. So I think the Sivir player was active player turn 0. So throwing it over to the Volibear player, going to be turn 1 for them. Kaza Aeons gets completely exhausted out, leaving 1 rune available. And I don't know about you, but there is no single card that costs 1 energy that gets you out of this predicament. And Sivir will be victorious. Well played and well done. 2-0 against the Volibear player.